grabbed me, held his hand, and he went and really cranked my hand. See? I thought, you son of a gun. I'm giving you my hand. I'm not fighting you. And you hurt me like that? I says, if I stay here, I'm going to kill that guy. I'm going to knock his lights out. No one, that's not right.
It's not polite, is it?
It's not polite. Yeah. So I walked away from it. I says, no, this is going to be, this is going to be a fight. I only had, well, I've been challenged a lot by the country boys. They all want to throw a foreigner. They come into Tokyo, little groups, and they'd say, he's mine, he's mine, he's mine. See, and I hear them, they don't know, I know Japanese. And what was funny was the Japanese children on Kodokan, I was friends with them, because I used to work out and warm up. But I taught them a trick, I call it watch the birdie. You know, watch the birdie. Guy's eye goes up there, boom, I do a maki komi, hadai maki. So the children, when these guys would come over, see, they'd be going, sharp son, sharp son. All the children are doing this. They're winking at me and they're putting their hands up and they're giving me the sign, do the birdie. So this guy came up to me, I got to see, and I go, watch the birdie, boom, and I throw him. And the children would kick their legs and go, ha, sharp side got him with the birdie. So, but I did have one fight. I was serious. I was in, I don't know, it was east-west, I don't know, Japan. I guess western Japan. On the China seaside. I was visiting this town. I had some business there. And I always take my judo gi, you know. I was still a first-degree black belt. I was almost second. In fact, O-Sensei, the genius on mat work, he gave me his personal card, and he said, this is to introduce Mr. Sharp, second dan. And I said, Sensei, I'm first dan. He says, no. He was ninth. He was like one of the top in Japan. He says, no, you're second. So I went to this one dojo. It was across from a prison. And some of the prison guards did their judo there. And there was one guard, I went there and I practiced it. Sensei let me practice. And I just had regular practice with people. You know, nothing, we're not trying to kill each other or anything. You know, just have hard practice. And this guy comes up to me, very muscular. He takes his jacket off and flexes his muscles. He says, you come tomorrow. I throw you my Sioi Nagi. I looked at him. I'm an easy guy. I turned red. Smoke must have come out of my ears. And I thought, you blankety blank blank. I will come tomorrow. If I have 2 broken arms and 2 broken legs, I will drag my body to the dojo and I'll kill you. That's the way I felt. I never felt like this before. I was so angry. I couldn't believe it. And the sensei, he's so embarrassed. I could see him there. So the next day I came, and he's there. Now there's nobody in the dojo but him and me and the sensei and one other guy. And we start to fight. So he had this Serenaki, but what he did was he kept giving me the elbow in my ribs. He was trying to crack my ribs. And I had an Osoto Gari, and I'd bring him around and I'd just give it to him right in the jaw as I drive him, see. So next thing I know, he's got blood coming down his mouth. I've got sore ribs. And when I take him into mat work, he freaked out. He didn't know mat work. So I go to choke him. He's trying to crawl off the edge. To me, there's no border. Any place you are, you're mine. And I'd stretch him all the way, you know, make him scream. And finally, I fought him until he cried. And he came to me and he begged me to let him go. And the teacher thanked me very much, and we drank tea, and this guy crawled away. That was my only real, what I call a real fight, you know. But otherwise, they were cooperative. They showed me stuff. But I didn't see, you know, like to have a jiu-jitsu, let's say, well, you need a dojo. Well, the only ones that had dojos, basically, were the judo senseis had it. And there might have been somebody who taught it, like in a small group, and he might have used the judo dojo or something. Like my sensei was, one sensei was he was a When he was young, he was a sumo champion, and he was ju-jitsu. I have pictures of him with his school. And he was a bo-jitsu, interesting. And he taught me how to do some of these things. His story was when judo was new, he lived in Mito, in Ibaraki Prefecture. He had just got exposed to judo. He was a very strong guy. Because his brother, who was a student, died of illness. So he took an oath that he would have a strong body first to be super. He wouldn't die of illness. Yeah. He had a body, fantastic. And he was in sumo, you know, not fat sumo, but these guys gets, you know, legs like this. And these jiu-jitsu teachers showed up from Tokyo, you know, with the kamas and the mustache and everything. And they worked out with him. Well, he threw them because he knew free practice. He had a better feel. The jiu-jitsu people, the difference was they did very limited free practice.
So they went to prakata, lots of prakata.
Yeah. So if you know free practice and you have the feeling,
you have to know how to apply it.
Yeah, you know how to apply it. So they liked him, and so they invited him to come to Tokyo and maybe live with them and stuff. And I have pictures of him with the jiu-jitsu guys, and they're all skinny guys, and he's sitting there with a pair of shoulders like this. And he became captain of Meiji University judo team and their sumo team. See, he went there as a student. And he became very close with Kano. Kano took him around to China and other places. And you see pictures with groups with Kano sitting in the middle. There'd be maybe one other person and Kawakami Sensei sitting there. So he became, but he was a quiet man. He wasn't a braggart like Mifune, you know, who was sort of a showman. Mifune was good. No, he was very good, but he was more of a showman and stuff, see. But Kawakami was more quiet. And so, anyways, so I have some old photographs of him with the jiu-jitsu people. But he just did, you know, what happened? Every so often I'd ask my judo sensei, what about self-defense? Okay? And they'd say, just do judo dake, do judo only. The reason was because they saw the thing about randori. If you can really work, then this is more important.
It will.
You don't need a lot of tricks.
Catch the person. Yes.
Like when I was a kid, someone raised their hands, wham, left hand right in the nose. I don't need a lot of tricks. Okay, that was it. Finished. So again, there was no schools, you know, this and that there. There were some gyms maybe with boxing. I didn't know anything about it. I was so poor I didn't know.
Sure.
We just did things. So anyways, that was sort of my background, but I didn't find, that's why all of a sudden I'm back in America, and then later on we start having the different things, the taekwondo and the hapkido, and then I see some jiu-jitsu coming up later on, and to me jiu-jitsu and judo was the same. It's just the rules was, to me, I didn't know there was something special because I never saw jiu-jitsu schools. See, so all these things all of a sudden just sort of came out of the woodwork. So you say, well, what do you know about them? Well, I know the skills. I see the stuff they're doing, and it's the things I know. Most of it. Some of the stuff in judo we only do in kata because we can't do the wrist, the kotegaishi type thing, or the leg. It's in kata. You know, can't do a ashigarami or an ankle lock. It's not that difficult to do. It's any joint. You twist it one way to the end, it hurts. You know. So that was sort of my thing. I wrote, actually I wrote 4 books when I was over there. 2 of them were published. Sport of Judo, and that sold over 150,000 copies. It's worldwide, everybody knows it. Techniques of Judo, Takaraki, that sold about 100,000 altogether. And then I wrote a book with Ishikawa, who was 2-time All Japan champion.
Yeah, Ishikawa was a great master.
The book never got published.
Oh.
But he left for Cuba. And then later I inherited part of it. People brought it to me. And I put some things together. And all I did with that book was, he had the photographs already taken. So I would say, number one, people standing in the right natural position. Number two, put your foot across. And it was just description of the technique, okay? Mm-hmm. But we became close friends. And he told me his life story and how he became a champion. I've written an article, it's been published on my thing with Ishikawa, talks about it. But he told me things that changed me. He was big on the mind. And so I was kind of a happy player. And I'd be in a tournament, sometimes I'd be smiling. And my teachers would say, "Sharp son, get serious." And so he got me to learn how to turn it on, how to get angry. Not angry where I'm losing my mind, but anger where I know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So I'm making up my mind, I'm going to get you. I don't care what you want to do, I'm going to beat you. All right? And then you want to grab me, good. Any place, let me know where you are so I can throw you. Mm-hmm. And that became, but my power, it almost doubled. Then he told me, for every hour in the dojo, 2 hours by yourself. Now, I worked 8 hours a day. I mean, I had a job. I couldn't take off. So, but what I did was 1 hour. So, not 1 hour for 1 hour, but at night, I did a lot of training by myself. I developed my own things. And as a result, I could pull guys almost out of their socks. My power, my muscle memory improved, you know, and I developed the muscles I needed for judo. He had a tragedy. I don't know all the details about his personal thing, but the reason he went to Cuba was, see, he had a very good position. He was a Shihan at one of the youngest people to be Shihan status at the Tokyo Police Academy for the judo, where I used to train sometimes, in Keisho. And his brother needed money for some business. And he put his word out that he was behind it. And so his brother got the money, and then the brother business failed. He lost face. Now, Iwakuma had a problem like that, and he killed himself. You know? Yeah. Ishikawa had to do something, like suicide, or what is he going to do?
Or so he went to United States.
No, he went to Cuba
first.
What happened was, Cuba sent a letter to Kodokan. And you got to remember, all this is before television, before computers. None of that existed. Yeah, you know, you're in a world now. You don't even know. I mean, nothing. I mean, there weren't even books. I wrote my first book because I needed a book, and I didn't know what they're talking about on the dojo. People giving me it isn't even Japanese language. It's Japanese words for techniques. You know, it's not like good morning, how are you, you count, you know, the way we talk, right? But in judo, it's just, you know, major outer kick. I mean, who talks like that? You know, these were just names for describing techniques, see? So, this publisher, Tuttle, who published a lot of stuff on the Orient, he said, what? He lived there. Then he says, no, why don't you write a book? I said, you write a book. My two worst subjects in school was phys ed, sports, believe it or not, and English. But I was good in photography. Yeah, I was really trained as a young boy in photography. I even repaired cameras when I was 16, and I worked with some of the best in the world in photographers, not just with cameras and stuff. I said, well, okay, so I talked to Kobayashi, and I embarrassed him. He was young. He was only about 1 year older than me. See, he was my main teacher there, and he spoke English fairly good. So we wrote the book, and it was a big success. Now the Japanese, you get a reputation, you have to kill them to stop the reputation. You're finished. Number one, Ichiban judo book writer. Everybody comes to me. Even Mifune, the 10th degree, help with his book. I'm working 40 hours a week. I got a job, you know. I can always do judo at night. How am I going to write books for all these people, see? So anytime I have I did the sport. Takagaki's the first one comes to me. He gives me a manuscript he wrote 20 years ago in the 30s in India. Beautiful. I never read stuff like that. For every technique, not only does he tell you when you can do it, but if somebody does it to you, what you can do to them.
That's the counters.
The counter.
Wow.
He has the yin and yang. See. Well, by then I was a sandan, and I really understood judo much better. Okay. So I read the book. It took me a while because the handwriting is very difficult to read. And then, while I'm doing that, Ishikawa comes to me. I can't turn him down. But for Mifune, I got Charles Palmer, who was with the British Embassy. Charlie could actually read and write Japanese. But their interpreter was embarrassed because the English was so bad. Palmer says, I got to start from pure Japanese, and I know judo. But the interpreter, because Mifune doesn't speak English, the interpreter was embarrassed. So the first book by Mifune, Canon of Judo, was a disaster when English. You know, that's the one thing you had to be careful of. English students in Japan. Hello, how are you? What time is it by your watch? You know. Okay. See. So anyways, then I had it. My teacher, Taka Kawakami. I wanted to write a book on him, so I photographed it, but it never got published or whatever. And I still may do it someday. Now I found the photos. The stuff was destroyed. But what happened is, when I was back in Japan, the family had a box with my originals. So I may put something together. And I have video. It's the reason is each of us. It's full time just doing our thing, and our things have certain rules, and we can't use the other guy's stuff. Sure. What am I going to do with karate and judo? I mean, I'm not going to stand here and do this.
It's a different way of doing things.
Different things, you see. It's like a wooden boxing out there. Sure, boxing's great. My preference is boxing to karate because you really go at it. Timing and punching. It's like randori and judo. It has that element. But to do that, you have to be young and a little stupid and strong. That's the only problem with the competitive. You see these guys with all the big cauliflower ears. I mean, you don't have to have cauliflower ears to do it. And now in Japan, these I saw last time I saw this big tournament with the college kids doing teams, and they're all kind of all muscular and big ears. I think they just beat their ears. They want to look that way.
Yeah.
It's like a badge of macho. In fact, I've had some people say, "How come you don't have cauliflower ears?" Well, this one's twice as thick as that one from the fist. You know, but that's. I get out of the way.
Use your brain.
Use my brain, you know. So I don't roll my head and roll my ears in. I make a space, you know. So I use my legs. Anyways. And there's also things like, I did it with some little children about a month ago. I was at my friend's dojo. He has a pee-wee class, okay? Little tiny tots. And I told them a story. I says, do you remember Star Wars with Yoda? Remember? The boy wants to become a Jedi warrior. Yes. Remember?
Yes.
And that's really a Japanese story. So Yoda makes him first do a lot of things, okay? And then finally he says, okay, you have the power. So the spacecraft is in the mud, and the young Jedi goes like this here, right? And the spacecraft starts to come up, and then in the mud. And he turns to Yoda and he says, Sensei, I tried. And Yoda says, don't try.
Just do it.
Do it. That's what my sensei, my wife says to me, that's what your sensei told you. Because I remember I was trying this technique. My sensei says, don't try. Do it. Anyways, that's sort of Japanese. So I told these children a story. I says, now the power, you have the power. But the power's in your eyes. Now if you do koji, I want you to look where you're going to throw. And keep looking. And you will go. It'll happen. And then I showed some little trick with the feet. So the teacher there, she liked that. So she says, okay, you have the power. And the little children change their feet. And you couldn't believe these little kids doing the most beautiful koji you ever saw. boom, and just like that. See what happens because of the judo? Judo is a detriment because you're holding it and you're doing this. You're holding something. You're holding them up while you're knocking their legs up. So how are you going to throw them down? You got to put them there.
Sure.
You get no put them up there. See. So the little children, it was funny. Koichi and Ochi had them doing better than I've seen good competitors do. These little kids, they had the power. And the teacher said, "You got the power. Look here. You do Ochi. Look there. You got to Ochi. Go there." So anyway, that's sort of my my background on it. I'm a professor in Korea of judo. He says the body has memory like the brain. See, so like for example, when I catch a gi, say I'm more or less right-handed. When I go to do say the go soto, I automatically I'm a circular. Everything I do is like this. See, so the person thinks I'm going. They feel this movement and they're going that way. So I have things that I do just
sure,
but I have students can't do it. I said no, just and they do this here with their hand.
Yeah.
See, they can't use a body, see it and move. So if you can show some of those things, it works. And I'm always learning. I watch other little, but it has to be simple. This is the whole thing. It can't be. You get too complicated.
It's not going to work. It has to be a simple 1-2 step.
Simple 1-2 step, and that's